Okay, put a little gear lube on the bearing. I'm going to take my forward gear, which has been pressed onto the inner prop shaft. I'm going to slide that down inside the case. All right, another little trick I use is putting this pinion gear in is to turn this drive all the way up till it's almost negative the other direction. Well, I can actually take this gear and I can set it down in here, and then I can let it down inside the case. And once it reads the bearing, I can turn it, and the gear falls into position. So I've got the pinion gears in there. I have another special tool here, and that special tool holds that pinion nut, and that special tool number is 3855930. So I have the used pinion nut on one end and a brand new one on the other. Cup side goes towards the gear. So I'm going to take the drive shaft and slide it in the housing through the pinion and give it a little wiggle, and I got it through the gear. Now what I'm going to do is pull the shaft back until it's just flush with the end of the gear so I can get this nut in there. I'm going to slide the nut into position, push the drive shaft in. It makes it easy to get the pinion nut started. We're going to reassemble the two tools at 921 and 922 tools, and we're going to torque the pinion nut. So next I'm going to put the upper race on, slide that down over that bearing. Now I'm going to thread the retainer in. Okay, I got the 921 and the 922 tool here again. Torque the pinion nut, and I looked over in my notes and it was 80 foot-pounds is what I torqued it at the first when I did my pinion gear. So I'm going to slide this back down, rotate that drive shaft. Okay, let's line up the 3855098 tool, and I'm going to torque that nut to 80 foot-pounds. There we go. What I like to do is hold this shaft with one hand while I torque it, just to try and keep it straight. There we go. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this retainer down while I'm checking the rolling torque, and I'm going to set the rolling torque to between 2 and 4 inch-pounds, which the magic target is 3. So a 0 to 30 inch-pound torque wrench, a couple of adapters because this is 1/4 inch, so 3/8, 3/8 to 1/2 inch. Need the retainer tool here. So I got the retainer tool. And what I'm going to do is just snug it up lightly until I feel just a little tension on there, and then I'll measure and see what I come up. The drive needs to be perfectly vertical at this point. What we want is we want this drive shaft to be horizontal so that the prop shaft doesn't have any tension on it. It should sit there in space. And that's pretty close right there. So this is just to put a little bit of tension on those bearings, and we need to set that to 2 to 3 inch-pounds. It's rolling. Yep, there's 3 inch-pounds. Good. Okay. Just a little bit of tension, and then check and make sure you have no vertical up and down movement on those two bearings. Okay, next I'm going to put the 2 gear shims down here, which are going to go under this bearing. That bearing is pressed onto the shaft, and those shims place this gear in the case. So that is 15. So 15 thousandths down over that shaft. Then I put the bearing on, a little bit of oil on the inside of the race because we're going to press that on. So then I'm going to slide that down over the prop shaft. And I'm going to take this 921 and 922 tool apart, and we're going to use this end, and that's going to fit just inside that bearing, so we're going to press that bearing onto the shaft. So I'm going to slide that over the shaft, carefully put it in the center of the bearing. Now I'm going to take this tool, which is that one we use to pull it apart, 385-919. I'm going to thread that onto the inner prop shaft. Then what I need to do is I need to hold this tool and tighten it and press that bearing onto the shaft. This is takes a little bit of effort. This is a hard press, so you're going to get a little workout doing this. So 1-inch wrench, okay, and hold the two adjustable wrenches, part number from Williams 13412A. Got them from the Snap-on guy. Fix this tube so I don't have to go crazy. And then what I'm going to do is I need to tighten this until I bottom the bearing out on the shaft. Okay, that's bottomed out. And what I need to do is unthread that tool. Okay. So I painted 3 of the gear teeth on the full convex side. I can put that down inside the gear case now. Before you do that, make sure you put the seal protector in here. I don't want to ruin them. So that seal protector protects those seals. As you slide it down the shaft, line it up, the seal protector comes right out. We then can put our bearing carrier in. Yeah. Okay, so I got the seal protector in here. And the threaded drain plug goes straight down. I've taken all the O-rings because I'm just going to measure gear lash right now, so it'll slide right in here inside the case pretty readily. So you can see that'll cut up those seals pretty tough if you're not real careful putting it in. So once I put that in and push that down, the seal protector comes up. Then I'm going to put my lock tab in, holds my carrier in place, and again, that's why you need to have the drain plug faces straight down. And oil on the threads. So threads in there easier. Okay, I've got the retainer tool. So we need that and a breaker bar. It's gonna put that retainer in there. Get that ready. Now I've switched over to a 0 to 75 inch-pound torque wrench. And the book tells me that the rolling torque of this entire shaft assembly, once I tighten that retainer down, for gear ratios of 195 and 232, it's 18 to 26 inch-pounds. For gear ratios 168 and 178, I have a 178. That is 26 to 35. So I'm gonna set my dial indicator to 30 inch-pounds so that when I rotate it and read the tension, it goes to 0. So I'm gonna tighten it up a little bit, check it. Tighten it up a little bit, check it. There we go, that's 30 inch-pounds. Okay, so I have the rolling torque set up on the case, 30 inch-pounds, and now I'm ready to break my gear lash. So I have the shim tool installed, that's 3855873. I'm on the tube gear. I'm gonna measure the inside mark. I've got my indicator zeroed, 6.5. I got 6.5 thousandths I'm reading. Okay, now we're gonna measure the inner prop shaft. Move this up. I'm gonna read off the outer mark. Looks good. And I'm right on 6. So 6 and 6, I'm right on the money. Looks great. Can't get any better than that. So now what we got to do is we're going to break the shafts and we're going to rotate it to check that gear marking compound. All right, so the book says to break the prop shaft. So what I do is I put a rag around the tube gear and try to squeeze it as hard as I can, and then rotate the drive shaft 6 full rotations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 more for good measure. On squeeze it. There we go. Now what we're going to do is just take the carrier back out. I want to remember, what did I set that rolling torque to? I'm going to write that down. That's 30 inch-pounds, so I can't forget in case somebody comes and asks me questions. So I'm going to pull this carrier back out. And I need that 789 tool again to pull this out. Place a little. You might be able to see that tooth right there. It looks like it's a little more, the center of that is towards the heel, and it is a little bit deep, which is fine. So what I always look for is I look for the center of that contact and where the center of it is, right about there. So it's about 2/3 of the way down the gear tooth. That's ideal. Okay, so we've put the drive all back together. We've measured the gear lash. It's right on the specification, 6 to 12, 6 to 14. It's around 6 thousandths. I measured the contact pattern of the tube gear, and that is right where it's supposed to be, a little towards the heel of the tooth. So for all my Volvo techs, I hope this helps. The setup procedures, tear down, rebuild. This is the final for part 3. If you like the video, please subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.